Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I'm going to be talking to you about burnout. And my name is Jessica Rose. I have been introduced as being from Birmingham in the UK, and I do not have a Brummie accent. So I'm from here originally. And for the past several years, I've worked as a contracting consultant in developer relations. And 7-8 months ago, I got critically burned out, like crying in the shower before you have to go to work burned out. So I'm going to give you all a talk about burnout while being extremely burned out. So it's going to be a little bit like bad performance art. It's going to be a little bit like performance art. But I'm a technical manager at FutureLearn now, which is great. Significantly less burnout, significantly less stress. And you may be wondering, like, Jess, this is fantastic, because we're on a first-name basis now. You're like, Jess, that's great. Why are you telling me about burnout at a tech conference? Before I got into technology, I worked as a teacher and a linguist, and I'm absolutely obsessed with brains. They're like our meat computers we carry with us. And we're really lucky in technology because no matter what you're doing creative work. And our brains absolutely live for creative work. We love new puzzles, we know pulling things apart, we love solving things. But if your meat computer is broken, if we break it through overwork and stress, you're not getting anything done, let alone good work. I'm going to stop for a second and take a little bit of a detour and talk to you all about cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology was massive in the 60s when a bunch of old dudes in, I imagine white coats, were like, hey, what if we study the brain as though it's a computer? And they created a lot of terms and a lot of ways to talk about the brain that are very computer-focused. And one of my favorites is working memory. Working memory is the amount of capacity, how much processing you can do. So I always like to think of working memory as how much thinking, how much mental process you can do. And just alongside that, equally as important, cognitive load is the amount of working memory that you've eaten up, the amount of thinking, the amount of processing you're going to do. And it's not just what you're thinking about right now. So let's say right now you're working on a really, really gnarly bug, and you've got to sort that out, you've got to fix it. But also, you've really got to pay that bill, and did you pick up your dry cleaning? And oh God, what about that tax thing you've never really... So you can fill up your working memory very, very quickly. And with burnout, you can fill it up while you still have quite a bit of work to do, mentally speaking. And working memory gets a little bit more challenging. You don't always have this cup. The amount of working memory you have changes throughout your life and changes based on your situation. Those of you who got a great night's sleep last night, had a really chill week, got a great breakfast, maybe you've got this much to work from. I am kind of jet-lagged, so I've got a little bit less. One or two of you are hungover, and maybe you're not getting too much done today. It's Saturday. The amount of working memory you have changes depending on your stress level, your health, that changes with age. Little kids are not getting that much working process done. Probably a little bit better than folks who are hungover. But what is burnout? Occupational burnout's been studied since the 1950s, and occupational burnout is exhaustion. You are just worn the heck out. And it's mental and physical exhaustion. It's the result of long-term stress that feels inescapable. There are things that feel like you cannot possibly get out of them. And to make it very, very fun, the biggest bonus is that it feels and looks just like depression. And occupational burnout, while mirroring depression, can also trigger depression and other very, very serious illnesses. Yay! You say, Jess, that's fantastic. That has nothing to do with me. We're going to go through the Mayo Clinic's diagnostic cycle for burnout. Since this is really personal, and since you might be here with your boss or your coworker or your future boss network, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. That's super weird. Can you just give me like a gentle side eye if any of these apply. Just like, look a little bit concerned. And then count them off to yourself. You'd be like, all right, you ready? Who here is kind of sassy at work? Don't raise your hands. Who here has a hard time getting to work? And then an even harder time doing the thing once you get there? There's a little bit of side eye here. Who is tired of humans? Damn, San Francisco. I feel like maybe this is everyone. Who doesn't have the energy to be consistently productive? When you do get something done, does it not feel as good? What about who doesn't feel 100% that they're changing the world and everything's fabulous? Ooh. Is anybody snacking too much or drinking too much? Or soft drugs are legal here now, right? Who's sleeping differently? Who's staying up late? Who's having an appetite change? This was hard for me because I always thought I was just getting old. But if you're having weird physical ailments attached to things that feel like depression, you say, okay, count them out. And you're like, Jess, that's fine. I knew I wasn't burned out. I only had like 3 of those. It's not even a big deal. You're going to be delighted to know that the Mayo Clinic defines burnout as folks who have 1 or more of those. Sorry, someone joked that all of my talks are about like technology's terrible, computers are terrible, your brain is betraying you. But let's, positive things. Recovery mode. So a lot of people, when they get burned out, ignore some of the early symptoms, and it gets worse, and then you're crying in the bath and quitting your job via text message, like my friend. The first thing I would warn you, if you feel like these things apply to you, the following advice is not intended to replace medical advice. If you feel like you're having a mental or physical issue, immediately go and speak to your doctor, please. I wound up quitting my job because I went to my GP, do we say GP? Basic doctor lady? She's cool. And I told her, I'm not sleeping well, and I feel terrible, and I'm crying before work. She's like, okay, you need to quit your job. And then wrote it out on a prescription pad, which was glorious. But these are some DIY hacks after you see your doctor, please. The one thing I would let you know is recovery takes a long time. So I was critically burned out 6-7 months ago. I'm still pretty sleepy and kind of overhuman still. One thing that I really recommend doing, who here can afford, also don't raise your hand, everyone will hate you. Who can afford to just take a big chunk of time off? Just look smug. Fabulous. I have no idea what to, go spend more time with your horses or whatever rich people do. Y'all are fine. Take a break, take some time off work, rebound. I don't know what your lives are like. Come and tell me after the break. For those of us who can't spend more time with our horses, I genuinely don't know what rich people have. Is it a Tesla now? Here's some other things you could do. Most immediately, if you can't stop doing everything, just critically cut out the stuff that's most damaging to you. But do that in ways that aren't going to screw you over more. So say, okay, I'm going to stop doing these things. I'm just not going to pay my taxes for a while, and my landlord. Triage, do stuff that future you needs you to do first. Outsource. And if you can afford to pay people to help you clean up, to do your laundry, to send you food, absolutely do that. Outsourcing doesn't just have to be financial, though. If you have people in your lives that can help you pick up extra work, who can help you out, who can sort of give you a little bit more time and energy, be lovely to them. Ask them for help. People desperately want to help you. Start saying no. This was the big one for me. I now absolutely love to say no. If any of you want to come and ask me later on to help out with one of your projects, you should absolutely do that. because I will have the nicest time saying no. It might seem very selfish at first, but a big part of being able to help other people is making sure you're okay first. If you burn out, if you destroy yourselves, if you feel miserable all the time, you're not going to be able to help anyone. Taking 6 months, even a year to be usefully selfish can be incredibly valuable. This is my other favorite one. Emotionally invest selectively. That guy on the internet who's wrong and a jerk, nah, man, just let it go. I don't know if this is a way we've said it just in my family. Has anybody ever heard of mom swears? It's where y'all know that I mean a specific word, and I know I mean a specific word, but we're going to go for something very, very gentle. Selective emotional investment is all about tallying how many hecks you have left to give and really passing those out where and is appropriate. I'll say, well, that's really annoying. I don't have them. Ask for help. Coming out and saying, I'm really burned out, I don't know what to do, can be huge and scary. You may not be in a position to say that to your boss or to people in your professional environment, but talking to people who care about you and saying, I'm having a little bit of a difficult time, or I need to take some time off. If you have the ability to do this, ask for help and get some support. Recharge doing whatever feels best for you, within the limits of reasonableness and the law. I don't know you. The one thing I would say is check to make sure the things you're doing to recharge don't become an escape. If you're playing 12 hours of video games a day, check to make sure that's not its own thing. I love the meaningful glance back there. They'd be like, that's us. And practice forgiveness. If you're burned out, you're probably screwing a lot of things up. I've screwed at least 3 things up in this talk. If you're able to forgive yourself, like, I am so fine with flubbing that slides too slow. And this I'm also fine with. Forgive yourself. Like, nobody's going to be harder on you than you. Just let it go if you can. And the big one is don't be a jerk. Remember earlier when we talked about needing to do the things for your future self? Man, if you're a jerk to the people around you, you're going to make your life way more difficult. Asking people for help, creating interdependent ties, almost all social interaction is transactional. We act in a specific way because we want other people to act in a specific way. If you decide that I'm burned out, I'm going to be terrible to everyone, man, you are going to have a really difficult time 2 months from now when you're still really burned out and everyone hates you. To recap, if you're burned out, what are you going to do first? What are you going to do first? I was a teacher for a long time. I'm so sorry. For those of you on the live stream, you will absolutely go talk to your doctor first. And do less. Dramatically reduce the stressors in your life where you can. You probably can't just quit your job, but man, you can, you should do it. And invest your energy selectively. Do it for things that make other people feel good, they make you feel useful, and that they don't hurt you. But I've got a couple minutes left, and I want to maybe give you a little bit of insight into a really unexpected upside to burnout. We talked about emotionally investing only in things that really matter, and really doling out your energy very, very carefully. I was at an event back in December when I noticed that I had gotten some really, really weird superpowers from being burned out. I was tired, I was worn down, I was forgetting things constantly. Memory issues are a big problem with burnout. And I went to an event, and I was so happy to see everyone. And I came up, and I gave a talk, and I probably did a bad job, but I didn't care. And someone I hadn't seen for ages came up after me. He's like, Jess, how are you doing? I didn't know you were pregnant. Whew, You're all very, very smart people, and you already know to never do that. Whew. So before being burned out, I would have been pretty delighted by this exchange. Say, oh my God, have I put on a lot of weight? Is it this dress? It is not this dress. This dress has pockets. This dress is great. Am I fat? Post-burnout, none of that mattered. It's like, yes, are you pregnant? It's like, no. And this person who was clearly from a different planet where they don't have the same social conventions, they doubled down to say, no, but you've got a little... No, I'm not pregnant. And I was holding a cider at the time. Or do we have some? Happy apple juice booze. So I don't know if they were trying to say like, hi, you look like an irresponsible future parent. But I was exhausted and I was burned out and I was done for the day. So instead of hating myself or hating them, I was just like, hey, I'm not pregnant. I don't have any emotional energy for this. Good day. Knowing full well I would say this on stage, they'd eventually see it and feel bad for about 7 years. So to recap, your brain is your friendly meat computer. You've got to take decent care of it to get by. But even if it's a little bit broken, even if you're having a difficult time, generally speaking, your brain's got your back. If you're tired, if you're worn out, if you're burned out, do the things you need to help your meat computer get by and ignore the things that are going to hurt you. Thank you all so much.